I am so excited to welcome you to the Brain, the Brawn, the Heart, and the Hero, our writing workshop this afternoon. My name is Tanisha, and I'm with Hillsborough County Public Library, and I am joined here with Jaimie Engle, who will be leading the workshop. Jaimie, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing splendid. I am currently sitting in the Great Smoky Mountains of North Carolina on vacation. So welcome to my cabin.
Awesome. That sounds so lovely right now. As I'm sure you're aware, it's a little warm here. It's a little warm in Florida right now. So I'm sure it's nice to be out of that. So Jaimie, before I hand things over to you, just a few library things we'd like to take a look at. First of all, we would like to thank the Tampa Hillsborough County Children's Library Foundation for funding this program along with our other library programs. So big shout out to them. And of course, we always like to kick things off with a book shout out. So we have a kind of a twist, like we'll be talking about today in this workshop, on a classic tale. So this one is based off of The Wizard of Oz. It is called Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Paige. You can find that at Hoopla. Remember, everything on Hoopla is instantly available. And we also want to remind you to keep logging those hours on Beanstack. You got a couple of weeks left to still sneak in that last minute reading. So definitely make sure you do that. And now that I have covered all of the library stuff, Jaimie, I am going to hand things over to you. I will be back at the end to do some Q&A. So go ahead and Jaimie and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanisha. I appreciate you. Hi guys, happy summer. I'm so excited to be here today and talk about one of my favorite stories, which is The Wizard of Oz. I really started writing partially because of The Wizard of Oz. It's such a great classic story, and it really just breaks down how to tell a story well. And one of the key things you can tell about a good story is if it's something that's old and either still is relevant or is redone, like the book you just saw, for example. You're not gonna do that with a story that's but you're gonna do that with a story that's amazing. I will not do it here, but when I was little, I was sick for a month, and I recorded The Wizard of Oz, and I started writing down all of the words that the characters said to each other, which we know is called dialogue. And I actually memorized from the very first moment of the movie all the way till Dorothy leaves Munchkin Land. And I can still almost perfectly recite it. So maybe on another podcast or webinar, we'll get that experience. But today we're going to talk about how to build a cool character, how to build a character that people want to read and that they can connect to. One of the most brilliant things about The Wizard of Oz and why I chose this to illustrate this is that a character really is going on a journey to have a need or a want answered, right? Every character you can think of is after a goal. And before you even start writing your characters, you should have a clear understanding of what their story goal is going to be. You may not know what their personal goal is yet, because sometimes you have to find your story to find who your character really is. And here's an example of that. When you meet a new friend, do you guys sit down and like talk about everything about yourself? Or do you just kind of hang out and do something, right? And then in doing something, you get to know that person a little better, and then a little better, and a little better. And that's how we develop friendships. If you think about writing characters in that way, it kind of takes the pressure off of you, because you don't need to know everything about your character to get started. You can just have a very loose idea of who your character is and what their want is, what their journey is going to be about. For Dorothy starts off and she just wants to get out of Kansas, right? She just wants to leave. She has no desire to stay there. She wants to go see the world. She wants to go on adventures. And then she gets to the other side of the rainbow, and what does her want change she just wants to go home, right? She gets what she wants. She gets to leave Kansas. Now, maybe it was in a concussion. That's kind of weird, but she did get to leave. We didn't know that till the very end. So she gets what she wants, and then she goes to this beautiful, magical place that's sometimes beautiful and sometimes very dark. And all she wants to do is get home. Why? Because Aunt Em is sick, right? She wants to go back and see Aunt Em. She wants to make sure she's okay. She wants to just get back to her normal life and the people that she loves. And that's really what the whole story is about, right? Family, friendship, accepting who you are and where you are, and that there's no place like home. That's our theme. So Dorothy's song that she sings is that I just want to get home. And what does Glinda say to her at the end? You had the power to go home all along, right? And I think that's really powerful, and that's something we need to think about in our own writing, or when you're reading other books, that you can see that a lot of times your character has everything they need. They just need other people to show them what it is and where it is inside of them. And that's what the brain, the heart, and the brawn is. Those characters that she meets in Oz that resemble the people from her real world, those are the people that bring out what she has inside of her, that she has the power to go home all along. So going back to that want and need idea, the Wizard of Oz is brilliant for really verbally stating the wants and needs of every character, and then you can clearly see when they achieve those goals. We have the Scarecrow, and what does he want? He sings about, they all sing about it, right? Hey, we get songs, we actually get their want song. And if you can create a want song for your character, you'll know what their want is. The Scarecrow wants a brain, right? That's it. He just wants a brain. But what do we learn about him? He's the one that's always coming up with the plans, isn't he? So he thinks he needs a brain, but he has a great brain. He just needed the power of the friendship and that little certificate that he gets at the end to show him that he does have what it takes. We have the Tin Man. What does he want? He just wants a heart. He just wants to feel alive. He just wants to feel emotion. Well, he's the most emotional character in the entire story, isn't he? He starts crying when Dorothy goes to sleep, and he rusts himself again. He cries all the time. He says at the end, I have a heart now, but it's breaking. You know, he's our romantic, emotional character. And he says throughout the whole story that he just wants a heart. He just wants to feel. Well, then we have the lion, right? We are introduced to the lion because he jumps out and attacks and tries to scare everybody. Kind of like a bully, right? If you think about it, he puts on this persona that he is this fierce, scary monster, and you need to get out of his way. But what he wants is courage. He's afraid of his own tail, you know? That's a scaredy cat. And so the lion, his song is that if he only had courage, just think of what he could do. So you have Dorothy, and you have these three characters that kind of support her. And if you look at Dorothy as the centerpiece of those three characters, she embodies all of those characteristics to a degree. The lion and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man really embody one specific thing, the brawn, the brain, or the heart. And Dorothy is a product of all of those elements. And that's why she's our hero, and that's what makes her more well-rounded, and the other three characters more stock characters or stereotypes in a sense. So when you're building your characters, there's a really great idea in this story of giving your supporting characters a specific characteristic like brawn, brain, or heart to be that like that force that the main character needs. So for example, in your story, your main characters just finds out that her parents are going to get a divorce and she doesn't know what to do. So she has that one friend that she can always turn to who has answers, right? And the friend who has answers is going to be very logical, and that's your scarecrow. But then she goes to her other friend because she's really upset about this, and she understands from the scarecrow friend how she should be thinking and feeling. But then she goes to her other friend, and her other friend is the one whose shoulder she can cry on, and that's your Tin Man. That's your heart character. So you have another friend who's always the emotional one. She's always, or he is always the one who's who just kind of acts on impulse, and they're very, you know, they do this a lot in the story. Their emotions are very up and down, and they can support the main character by giving them an emotional view of the situation. And then you have your other character who you say, my parents are getting a divorce, and she goes to her other friend, and the other friend, that friend is constantly fighting their own fears to find courage. And so maybe they're the encouragement to your hero that comes in and says, listen, I know this is scary and I know that you're sad, but other people have gone through this and we're going to face this together. And they kind of fill in that role of courage. So in that sense, your main character can pull off of her supporting or his supporting characters to find their story and to find the answer to their song, which is, in this case, how do I get through my parents' divorce? And if you build your characters, your ensemble, the way that the Wizard of Oz did, and it takes away that cliche because you don't have a lion singing about courage and a scarecrow singing about having brains, but you have these elements of these strengths in your ensemble that your main character can turn to. And I bet if you look at your favorite TV shows or your favorite books and you break down the main grouping of characters that surround your main character, you can probably figure out if they're a brain, a brawn, or a heart character to your main character. Now, of course, in the Wizard of Oz, we also have the Wicked Witch of the East, the West, whichever. One's dead, one's not. And they're obviously going to just challenge your main character. They're going to challenge all of your characters, really. So you're going to always have the bad guy, the antagonist. I think that one's pretty obvious. But the other characters that you might have, and this is a little more of a stretch than those first three, is you have a character like Toto, which, what did Toto do? Well, for me, you know, Toto was the thing that Dorothy put all of her problems and fears and concerns onto so that it wasn't on herself. So Dorothy, not that Toto is a scapegoat, but you know, all of Dorothy's problems stemmed from things about Toto, right? She got in trouble because Toto got into the garden, and then Toto jumped out of the basket, and then Toto gets captured by the flying monkeys, and you know, so Toto is kind of Toto kind of pushes Dorothy's story along. He's something that's outside of herself, but that plays an important role in her decisions. So when you're thinking about your main character, I bet you can find somebody or something in the story that pushes your main character to make decisions and to make choices that are outside of themselves. Because a lot of times when we're writing, that's a difficult thing to find. And it's difficult, especially as a young writer, to know, how do I make my character make decisions? How do I push my character? So maybe you have a teacher in your story, and she's constantly making assignments that interfere with your main character's plans, or they have a coach, or if it's a fantasy world, you know, it's a stepmother or a fairy godmother or something, somebody who comes into your character's world and they push your character into making choices. They're part of the plot, and really, like, they're important part of the plot because they push the character, but it's not their story. So go back through your story, go back through stories you love, and I bet you'll see that character stereotype in there as well. And then one of the other kind of main characters in The Wizard of Oz is, of course, the wizard, right? Can't forget him. What role does the wizard play? Well, the wizard is kind of the embodiment of everything that Dorothy thought she was going to find and achieve. And it's nothing but a guy behind a curtain, right? The wizard is your picture in your story or of your character, your ensemble of the goal, the reality of the goal, what the character is really going for. So your character has a physical journey that they go on, but they also have an emotional journey that they go on. So the wizard is more of that exposure of the physical journey not being the important journey, but it's really the emotional journey that's the important journey. So you'll see that character in other films and in other books as you pay attention. You see that in Up. Up is a great example of this. You can go through Up and you can find all of these characters, these stereotype characters that I've mentioned in Up as supporting roles for your main character. And his journey, he is trying to get the experience of going to take Ellie to the mountain, the one that they've wanted to see, the cliff, the waterfalls. I think it's just called the falls, actually. He's trying to get to the falls because that's what he believes is his journey, right? But when he gets to the falls, he realizes it's not about that. And that's kind of his wizard. The falls are kind of his wizard, because what he learns is his journey was about him finding a new adventure, right? And that new adventure is family. It's the little boy that he meets that he pins the badge onto. If you watch Up and think about these different elements of character, you'll see them all, and it kind of helps to give you a second picture of what these supporting characters and ensemble looks like, to be able to translate that to your own work. So again, we've got a character, and really, if you're going to write anything and you just don't know where to start, because I think sometimes that's the hardest thing to figure out, just ask yourself, what does this character want? What do they need? And then you either give it to them or you don't give it to them, and then you see what their next need is. Because if you give it to them right away, that's fine too, you can do that. What happens when they get what they want? Sometimes that's awful, right? Sometimes it's awful when you get what you want, because now you have a whole new set of problems that require new wants and new needs. So take your character, take someone like Dorothy, take your main character, and just find out, what do they want? What is their song that if they were in The Wizard of Oz and they had their introduction cameo, what would their song be about? And to clearly understand this, I encourage you to go to books and films. I find films easier because it's visual and it's faster, so there's less narrative to get to the point, just for studying purposes. If you go to these books and films and you write down the characters and then figure out what their song is, what their want or need is, and then take that and figure out how you can create those for your books and your stories, and just keep getting deeper and deeper. You know, what does Dorothy want? She wants to leave. Well, why? Because she wants adventure. Well, why? Because she's been in Kansas her whole life. Well, why? Because her parents died, I guess, and she lives with an aunt and uncle. So you just keep asking questions and getting deeper and deeper until you get to that core, which for Dorothy might just mean, I want to feel like I fit in. Maybe that's why she wants to go away, because she doesn't feel like she fits in. But then after she does get what she wants, she does get to go on an adventure, and she does leave, she realizes that there's no place like home. And now she has a new song, and that is, I love where I am and I feel like I belong. It's 2:20, you guys, so I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to pull my little sidebar out. If you guys have any questions you'd like to type in, Tanisha will go ahead and just shout them out.
Yes, I sure will. And as expected, Jaimie, we do already have some questions for you. So just as a reminder to those who are still thinking about their questions, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, that you can put them in the questions section of the control panel. If you are on a tablet, you can tap on the little question icon and you can put them there. So we have someone asking, which character from a book, TV, or movie, or video game do you feel could have been developed better, and how would you go about doing that as a storyteller?
Oh, that's a good one. I think a character that, and this is a weird one, but I've had this conversation with so many people, but in Twilight, I feel like the Jacob character was so much cooler, and the werewolf side of the story was so much cooler than the vampire side. I feel like the vampire was just pretty much a straight line. There wasn't a lot of depth in it. And I would have loved to have seen a second series, whatever, an offshoot of telling the werewolf side of that story, because I just think it has so much more depth of character, and it really could have been an entirely different series that maybe Stephanie Maros will do one day. I don't know. And then there's other characters I think that are very cool that could have had a little more attention. But I think I've had this conversation with so many people. We talk about that. Why did we focus on the glitter skins so much and not so much on the werewolf, the Indian? Like, it's such a cool backstory. So that's a great question. I've never gotten that one before.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I feel like I would, like, just thinking of like all the things I've watched and read and stuff. That was good that you were able to think of that so quickly, because I would have been sitting here like, So another question we have from the audience is, do you use this method to develop characters in your own writing?
I do. I think what I do is it's so ingrained in my mind that I just do it somewhat automatically. Most of this happens for me in edits. A lot of times I'm just trying to get my story out, and all I know is the want or need of my main character. And so everybody else is going to come in and either support that want or need, or they're going to get in the way of that want or need. And that depends on which side of the story that they fall. So for me, I will write the story, but then I'll go back through and edits, and I'll go, okay, this character really tends to always have a emotional response to my main character. So how can I bring that out more? How can I put more situations, more conversations, more events, so I can bring out that element and develop it in the main character? So yes, I do, and I think you should try as well. But always remember, you have to get your story out. Most storytelling happens in edits. The less amount of storytelling happens when you're actually writing your first draft of your story, because it's just a jumble, and you have to just get it all out on paper so you can, almost like a puzzle, right? If you think of a puzzle and you just looked at one piece and you just analyzed that one piece, and man, you have this amazing puzzle piece, but you have no idea what you're looking at. You kind of have to throw all the pieces on the table and then see what's similar. How can I group these by color and these by shape? And oh, here's all the end pieces, right? If you look at your story that way, you have to throw the whole thing out on the table before you can actually make a cohesive picture from it.
Ooh, good answer. Thank you. So we also have somebody who, it looks like they are writing a story with one character. Can you still use this method to develop your story when you only have one character that you're using?
Yes. If you look at all of these ensemble characters as extensions of your main character, their job is to intensify the main character's journey. So what you want to make sure you do is make your character well-rounded. So you don't want them to be all brawn or all brain or all heart. So you want to kind of bring in different sides of them, because we all have all of those sides. In certain situations we're really brave, and in other situations we're really emotional. So you can find all of those angles and apply them to a single character.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So this one is kind of a two-pronged question, and this person is very much into Stranger Things. So I don't know a lot about Stranger Things, but it looks like you do, so awesome. So we have somebody asking, and it's two questions, but I'm going to try to combine it into one. Which male and female character from Stranger Things did you feel was developed as a strong character in terms of character, dialogue, etc.?
I can't. It's been so long since I've seen it, but the cop, Topper. I think I'm close, but I don't think I'm right. The cop who takes in 11. I think he was amazing. I think he was very much like he had a very emotional side. And I think they really did a great job developing the emotional side of him. I think that with Stranger Things, I think they had such a great ensemble that you can really see each individual person has a specific track, a specific trajectory. And I would say that even though it's not really, it is kind of Eleven's story, but it's also not. I think that she is the one that embodies everybody. I think 11 is the one who has someone who's emotional and someone who's a brain and someone who's brawn. And while I believe they did develop her very well, I think that Joyce Byers, for me, the mom, I think she's the one that had the more vibrant character arc, because I really think that Joyce went from being kind of a hysterical mom whose kid goes missing to, by the end, she's killing monsters, killing aliens, and she has this emotional relationship with a man who doesn't make it, and she has a really deep friendship with the cop. And I think they did a great job with making both of those characters well-rounded, because they brought in a lot of history to their stories as well.
All right, well, yeah, you just gave me a nice little preview of Stranger Things. That is a show I have yet to watch. It is on my list. I will definitely be sure to add that. And it appears from the same person that you were correct. It was Chief Hopper. So there you go. You were correct. All right, Jaimie, thank you so much. So I'm going to give you guys a few more seconds to sneak in some last minute questions. While we're waiting for that, I'm just going to cover a couple of things for you, as we always love to end all of our programs. Of course, we have the library's contact information. You can contact us by phone, email, text, chat. You can just come on into the library however you want to contact us. There's our contact information there. Also, 2 more weeks left of summer reading. So we got this week and we got next week. So you still have some time to get in some awesome programs. You still have time to log your hours in Beanstack. You still have time to participate in summer reading. So definitely make sure you do that. And of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about Jaimie here, there is her website. She has a lot of super awesome things to offer you. Quick shout out, her books are also in the library catalog. So if you want to check out her books, be sure to do that. So we have a couple of comments coming in that this was fun, a bunch of thank yous, fun. I know it was fun for me. And let me just check and make sure there aren't any more. No, it looks like we're good. Jaimie, thank you as always. Amazing talk, amazing workshop. I'm not even that, I don't write a lot, but now this is giving me some inspiration to maybe come up with some characters. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me as always.
All right, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.